Hey, welcome to the Heart and Hustle Podcast. That's Michaela. They're taking a drink of Country Time lemonade, and today we're going to talk about the bad apple or the bad apples that you could be hiring inside your organizations. Here we go. Roll the intro.
Delete
Boom.
it.
No.
Delete it.
So the big question is this. How are leaders like you that recognize people and technology are the backbone of the company they're building continue to make progress when they have no clear idea on how to develop individuals and utilize technology in a way that helps them remain profitable? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. This is Tom and Michaela, and welcome to the Heart and Hustle Podcast.
Say again.
Never mind.
Never mind what?
I was just making a suggestion about how we could start.
How about we start to talk about what we did today?
Get our toes did.
We got our toes did. What else did we do today? We got shot.
We got a vitamin B12 shot.
Right in the deltoid.
We're hoping the heck it gives us some energy.
I hope it does too. So, but I think it was a good day overall.
You're recording this, aren't you?
I am. I had to get you at some point in time to kind of start this thing going. So, welcome back to the Heart and Hustle Podcast. I really got to find a way to get Miss Michaela here talking about a topic today. We got some wonderful ones. I think a great one to talk about tonight. But, you know, we did get our toes. We are heading out to Fort Lauderdale, Miami area this weekend. So, this is obviously released probably when we're down there, or maybe
we'll probably be there.
We're not sure on this whole time limit thing, but yeah, we're heading down there for a week with family member and a friend. So I think we're gonna have some fun.
I hope so. I hope we can actually disconnect for a minute and just kind of regroup and breathe and refresh. I know we'll work here and there, but
we'll work a lot, I think.
Okay. Dreams have been crushed.
I'm bringing my laptop. So, but yeah, we got a vitamin B12 shot today. First time ever by a local lady we know. I met several months ago. Her name is Susie. So
yeah, I like her.
She's a good lady. So okay, we'll see how that goes. Energy, stamina. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Got enough of that, but we'll see. So anyways, today we want to talk about that one person. We had a wonderful meeting today with a client of ours up in Omaha, and they're struggling, like we're struggling, like many others are struggling, and hiring, kind of figuring out what's what, and really trying to figure out, staffing levels and that impact. And I want to talk about that a little bit and kind of see, if others are feeling that same way. And I know we've been through it, and others have been through it, but you kind of have that one, I almost want to say that one key person on your staff, the person that.
I don't even think it has to be a key person.
I don't think so either.
I think
it's someone that's important, maybe someone that's been there for a while. Maybe they know the ropes and they know things. Can I say that much? Is that fair?
Well, you can. I think I'm thinking of it from kind of a different angle, but let's go with your angle.
Let's talk about your angle. We always talk about my angle. Let's talk about your angle first. That's a wonderful. Do you remember when the movie with who's the guy that played Captain America? What's his name? Chris
Hemsworth.
No, that's Thor.
Oh, I don't know those movies.
Yeah, I don't know, but he had a movie short back in the way. He used that word angle. Angle the dangle. I'll put the link down below, but it was actually quite interesting. Long night, but anyways, you had that one person, and they're like, you think they're great, they're a wonderful hire, and then all of a sudden it's like toxicity. It's like, what happened? And sometimes you don't realize that until the first week, the first year, maybe the first 9 years in this case. What happened, and what impact does that person have on your organization, your culture, and and how do you address it? What do you do?
Well, I think anytime, and I've been talking to this about with our team a lot lately, because we're looking at adding some additional staff, and I feel like for the first time in quite a while, we're at a really good place as far as our team goes.
I love our team. I absolutely am enamored.
I don't want to disrupt that jive, and I know, and we've talked about the fact that one person entering the mix changes the entire dynamics of that
It
team
does.
for the positive or for the negative, or sometimes a little bit of both. And so I'm nervous. I'm nervous to hire somebody else because we're going to have that shift again.
Yes.
And
Well, you always have a shift. I mean, at the end of the day, we always, whenever you add people, whenever
Yes.
people leave, there's always a shift. It's almost like, putting food coloring in milk. You add a little bit of red, you add a little bit of blue, you add a little bit of yellow, and then all of a sudden that droplet of black comes in, and it just overtakes everything. But how do you stop that? I mean, no company can successfully stop it forever. But how do you really prevent that from happening? What are the steps that companies can go through to make that happen? And then, but once you identify that that has happened, how do you quickly revert and get out?
yeah, that's a tough one because sometimes you see it coming and sometimes you don't.
Right.
Sometimes you can see the flags and the warning signals and the little things here and there. And sometimes there's just this undercurrent of a lot of different negative emotions that you can't quite put your finger on. Something ain't right, but you can't quite put your finger on it.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with, you could be dealing with a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different opinions, a lot of different people being involved, and it's just like, okay, well, what's going on here?
Absolutely.
It's really hard to navigate.
There's hundreds of different factors. You have friends, relationships. You have a lot of things in play there. Then people would kind of let the emotions get the best of them, and things happen. So I've always found out that, and I've always been late to the game. I've always been the one to kind of wait the longest and think, hey, maybe they'll come around or whatever. In case this client in Omaha, same thing. So
Well, and sometimes, you have to sit back and ask, okay, am I part of the problem here?
absolutely,
Like, where do I fit in
the
this?
CEO is usually not the problem, but is definitely part of the problem.
Yeah, like, okay, how can I fix this to make this better? What can I say? What can I do? What have I done? Like, it's so you've got this mix of you've just got this mix of scenarios that you kind of have to walk through and figure out, and
Right.
it's not always easy. That's why there's kind of the EOS theory has this philosophy of 3 strikes you're out.
Right.
And
Do you believe in that? Let's take a step back. Do you believe in three strikes are out when it comes into employment? I mean, I guess first of all, let's define a strike. What do you think a strike is? Like late to work is a strike, or?
I think those things all depend on the company that you're working with and dealing with. I think our 3 strikes would be very different from one of our nonprofits' 3 strikes.
Right.
What do you consider a 3 strike? And I know there are organizations that say, okay, you're late 3 times and you're gone. I don't care what the excuse is. I don't care what the reason is, and you're gone. That's not going to be a strike for us. We're going to have much different measurements. So that depends on the company, but there is that philosophy out there where, okay, I'll talk to you about this situation 3 times, and if we can't resolve it, you're done.
So let's go back to, not the original question, but I guess my original intent. You have a person. This person is part of your team. May or may not be critical, maybe an important person, part of your team. And what happens if it's toxic with this person, but you're afraid to let them go for the fear of my gosh, we can't replace this person. They have years and years and years of intrinsic knowledge. They have years and years of experience, or they may know. And, I may have brought this up before on this podcast. I may not have, but, I was probably 20 years old. I was working for a local savings and loan in Lincoln, and there was a gal named Peg, and she's probably not with us anymore, but she was the ATM lady. She ran all the ATMs for the entire bank at the time across the entire state. And she held her job, cuddled her job. She made sure that absolutely nobody knew her job. There wasn't one person in that entire institution that could actually replicate and do her job on a daily basis except for Peg. And it's not that she wasn't nice. She was a very nice person, but she would never train anybody about her job. She would never actually show people what she actually did in the event that she was sick. She never got sick. But it was the point where at one day she retired and she was gone. And that chaos just assumed because, my goodness sakes, nobody knew how to do Peg's job. Well, the sheer fact, I think that employers nowadays have the same fear that, like, this person is not replaceable. This person is a key component. This person was our bookkeeper for 15 years. This person was our, CFO for 10 years. This person was our operations manager for 9 years. And if this person left, what happens now? Even though, and I underscore that they may have been the cause of massive employee turnover for year after year after year in those longer term cases. So how do you think directors, CEOs, management should deal with that? I mean, what do you do?
It depends on what battle you want to fight, because you're going to fight a battle either way. So you're gonna fight the battle of, do we just keep this person happy, make sure we're moving on?
See, and I always think that's
doing
the
our
wrong
job?
answer. I just always think that's the wrong answer. Do you keep them happy? No. But the impact of not keeping them happy is huge.
Well, that's where I was going, because it is. It's a very short-term, heavy-hitting impact, and to take the other route to where you make sure that there's cross-training happening, or you make sure there's that transfer of knowledge, or you make sure, when Peggy's sick, somebody knows how to do her job. That's going to take a lot of time and effort, and working with a lot of different employees to make that happen. You can't snap your fingers and make it happen. So you're gonna have a struggle either way you look at it. Do you want to struggle now, or do you want to struggle later on down the road because it's coming?
Right. Yeah, and I think most owners or most companies get at the point, and I'm at this point as well, just personally, like you put such a bubble over your organization, over the folks that you work with, that team, and you make it very difficult to kind of be a player. You make it very difficult to really bring people on. And we're working with, I can't say a tremendous amount of companies, but we're working with a few companies now that are having such a hard time hiring in their field that they're taking anything. I mean, they're at the point where,
we've been in that situation. We've been in that scenario.
Yes, we have, but not to that degree. I mean, we have struggled to hire, I would say, people that would fit the team. I think we've struggled to hire maybe sometimes quality people, but we've always done due diligence. We've always done, typical gut checks, background checks, resumes, and we have taken the chance. And sometimes that chance has worked out farther, than we'd ever hope. I mean, wonderful, wonderful. Jason was a wonderful person. We actually hired this guy named Craig once. I think I mentioned this before, but I hired him because he put lights on his lawnmower. I thought it was an amazing thing back in the day, and ingenuity and whatnot. But he had to mow at night, and he had to work late and all this kind of stuff. So I thought that was kind of cool. But, I'll make that decision every day of the week. But now it's to the point is like, there are people that are foregoing background checks. They're foregoing, real tough questions to, making sure that they're qualified to work in the industry, saying, hey, we're going to hire anybody. And that person could be anybody in the world. I don't care. And not understanding that maybe they're a criminal. Maybe they shouldn't be accessing healthcare data or banking data or compliant type systems. And they're really just trying to hire anybody. And I think that's wrong too. So, but at the end of the day, though, it's like, how do you protect your organization? How do you protect your team from those that could be a fit? Now, one thing I know that other companies I worked with, I know that you've worked with, but they do, tests, personality tests, and I can't think of many that come to name, but the typical
like
tests where
Myers-Briggs or something.
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
one. It's like, I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and each question has 50 bubbles, and I'm going to ask the question this way. You answer the 50 bubbles this way. And the other question I'm going to ask you is, then you have 50 bubbles that way, and then it kind of matches you up with the role, the position, and you kind of do all that stuff. And folks that I know don't even get an interview because they answer the questions that would be considered not the best fit for the hiring manager actually hiring for the position. But, in order to kind of weed people out and filter folks out, the ones that are not the right fit, do you believe in that science? Do you believe in those mechanisms to kind of weed people out and find that right fit?
Not necessarily. I think they're interesting as, potentially.
Now, when you say that, though, sorry to interrupt. I hate to say that, but when you say not necessarily, you have maybe a good solid 50-60% of people inside of your role that believe them with their heart of hearts. So. Like they live and die by that. And you're saying you don't agree with that. So you're kind of on the
I'm not going to use them to hire because I think...
So you would never interview, you would never take that test. You'd never say, hey, take this exam, and I'm not going to talk to you before you take to that, and then judge them based on the answer to that exam. Yeah, me neither. Never. I agree with you.
No. I do find them interesting. I think they are helpful in giving you maybe a little bit of insight into their personality and who they are. But I also think there is, I could answer those questions completely different on day 1 versus day 10, now, depending on what I had for breakfast that day.
The science behind there, from what I have been told, is that those traits are developed by the time you're a very, very young person.
I don't agree with that.
Maybe 3, 4, 5, 6, 7
don't
years
agree
old.
With it.
Those traits are ingrained in you.
Don't agree with it.
I don't either.
Don't agree with it. I've taken so many of those tests, and I get different answers depending on the stage in my life, what I'm going through, my circumstances, what I've learned for the last 3 years, what I've walked through. Those are very, I can come up with different personalities based on life changes.
Yeah. Or
I think you learn, you grow, you change, you adapt, you evolve. And I don't think that, I just don't agree with that fully.
I remember I was in high school in Millard South in Omaha, and I wanted to be an architect. I had to be an architect. I just had to be an architect because nobody was telling me to. And my dad, my mom, they didn't really care. But I just wanted to be an architect. And I was doing anything I could to be an architect. So when I had to take my ACTs or something in high school, I forget what it was. You're in 12. This is back in 1991. I'm an old fart now. But you're back in those days, and you're given these exams, and it's just like, I know how to answer these questions because I know what I answer or how I answer these questions are indicative of what they want me to be. And I know if I answer this question this way, they're going to want me to be this way. So therefore, I lie. And then I take those exams, and I took one once back in 2000 and, oh my goodness sakes, probably 14 time frame. I took one of those personality things, and it was the first question and then 50 answers. And I read that first question. I started to go through it like anybody else. And after about the 10th one, I'm like, there's no way. Who do you want me to be? It was like Julia Roberts and Pretty Woman. It's like, what's your name? What do you want it to be? And I was like, do I answer this the way that they want this to see it? Or do I answer truthfully? And then I was conflicted. And I never took that second page. I never went through the second bank of 50 questions with the alternate question above the second 50 answers. And I did this because I thought there's just no way.
Yeah.
And it was probably a year and a half in there. I was told, I said, hey, Tom, you would have never been hired here. They bought my company and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of forced to come on board. But they probably would have never hired me, ever.
Yeah. Based
on that, ever.
I remember too, I took one not too long ago, just kind of for the fun of it and to see how it worked.
Like when you were at this company or when you were at...
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
So I took one just to see what came out of it. And it had different sections and, different strengths that I supposedly had. And I was talking with somebody about it later, and they're like, well, how accurate do you feel like this is?
I do remember this now. Yes. Okay, got it.
How accurate do you feel like this is? And I'm like, well, some of it's accurate. Some of it's not too bad. And I can see that. And then there's this one section. And I'm like, this is way off. Like, this is not me. This is not who I am. This is not a strength of mine. This is not, it's no. Yeah, I'm not sure how they came up with this. Yeah. But I don't know. I would not personally ever hire based on that. No. Now, I think it's a fun team building activity, to do when you have your team, you have your employees. Okay, right. Let's take this personality test and see who we are according to this test. If it's true for most of us, and how can we use that to work together a little bit better. But I would never use it based on as a hiring tool. It's just not me. But I know a lot of people in my industry would completely disagree with that. So
yeah, our latest hire, Victoria is her name, young gal, wonderful. We interviewed her over Zoom, and I knew it within the first 3 sentences that came out of her mouth. I just knew she's good, and that was it. It's like this raw gut feeling you have of people, and I will honestly say that every gut feeling that I had that was good has always been good. And there's always been that piece of that gut feeling of like, there's a shadow of a doubt, there's a sliver, like this could be a bad idea. Like, you feel compelled, you're like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And you always have that but. Those have 100% of the time failed. 100% of the time.
really,
Never have I hired someone and maybe it didn't work out, that there was a sliver or just a shadow of like, what if? And if I'm thinking about that on that day that you're making the job offer, or maybe the week after, or even during the job interview, the initial call. In fact, like the kid that we interviewed today, who I'm not going to say his name, I just had this feeling of this guy, it was just like, yes. And not to go into super long detail, but to me, it's just like, abso-freaking-lutely, I'd hire him in a heartbeat. And I know you, and I know some others would say, are you like drinking? What is going on here? Why?
I think, yeah, there's a difference though in what we're thinking about for that particular position. So it's not the hire,
but does it make you
there's a
rethink
concern.
that position though? Does it make you rethink that role? Like, I don't want to get all like straight black and white. Like, we have a role that's defined as this. This person's going to do this, and the job duties are this, and the structure is this, and the reporting manager is this. And I'm like, scratch that. This guy has a skill in here that wedges everything, and now we can
Wuzzle.
I love wuzzle. Bumbleline.
A lot of people don't like wuzzles though.
I love wuzzles. Everything we do though, like the best employees are the ones that can wuzzles. The best employees are the ones that can do, multiple things and bring good things together. I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm happy to admit that I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
And I think that's why we've struggled in the past.
That's definitely
you
where
and
we've
I,
struggled.
because we've had people that, they want to know their role. What am I going to do from 8 to 5, and name the top 10 things and give me the list so I can check them off and go home and drink a beer. And it's just like, that's not us, and that's not most companies you work with. You want people that can be dynamic and they can bend and they can come up with ideas and so on and so forth. I mean, we're not an accounting company. We're not a CFO company where, all we do is do number crunching all day and we have to conform to IRS regulations.
But we do work with a lot of companies who do have to have that mindset, and they do have that mindset. And so
we can adhere to the mindset, but you got to have the ability to think way outside of that mindset. I mean, you can't have a complaint on one day saying, you're too fast, you're too busy, there's too much stuff going on, and everybody's stressed. And then on the second date, you get that letter from the client that is in the same day, you guys are wonderful, you're fulfilling everything, and this is so great and so powerful to us, and you're making our business excel and everything else. It's like, what? You're pulling again from both directions here.
Yeah, but you're talking two different roles entirely. You're talking about an employee versus a client.
I'm talking about an employee versus a client. I'm talking about an employee an employee with an organization, not to say ours or somebody else's, but just say in general, that sometimes wants to know step by step by step by step what they're going to do every day.
Yes, and you have those CEOs who have that mindset, and they want their employees to have that mindset. That is not us. That is not us at all. Therefore, it can't be our employees, because we will kill them every time.
Absolutely. We
will kill them every time.
Absolutely.
So we have to have those employees.
Look what we did the other day. I mean, we had this idea, I'm not sure. I think, I walked in and you know, okay, it is. You can figure this online. It doesn't matter. But Ben and Jason are sitting there. These two IT dudes, awesome guys, doing their job every day, having fun, working on problems, solving issues, and all of a sudden, Victoria comes over and says, "Hey, let's shoot a quick video." And they create this little skit that's funnier than heck, and
It's great.
It's great. It's awesome, and I was so happy they did this. And they made the decision of like, saw a copy of it. I thought it was funny, but then I think was it me or who said puppets?
I don't know. Victoria mentioned, or Jason, somebody mentioned sock puppets.
Sock puppets. That was it. Yeah, you get a sock puppet with eyes, and we can do all this stuff, and we can do a Magnum PI episode, and we can do episodes based on the 80s and 80s theme music, and just chatting about it, and just trying to think whatever. And then all of a sudden that puppet thing came up, and there's that YouTube video I always watch. It's called Awkward Puppets. Hopefully the link will be below someplace, but it amazes me. It's pretty inappropriate, but it's actually quite funny. So anyways, so we ordered 5 puppets like that day
He ordered puppets.
Yeah, I'll put a link here. Maybe we can put them here, but there's literally 5 of these like 14 to 16 inch puppets. And so we're gonna have puppet shows.
I feel like I'm in 6th grade again.
Yeah, I know, but think about it. Like the Heart and Hustle podcast, like maybe in a few episodes from now, will be just you and I and puppets and having fun and talking about it. And
this is the most awkward thing.
It is awkward, but the fact is that the creativity that comes from just a wonderful culture and people and ideas.
But it's interesting how we do what we do because we are an IT company.
We're not an
IT. We are an HR.
No, we're not an IT company.
Hang on.
We're not an IT
Hang
company.
on. We are an IT company and an HR company that typically tend to have very black and white structured. This is how it is.
So if you're
that's so not who we are in any way, shape, or form.
And if you're the editor of this podcast, whoever you may be, this is when the frame turns black and white, or gray and white, I guess you should say, is that we are a very gray company.
Completely.
And we work with...
That drives some people crazy.
I think that drives a lot of people crazy.
It does.
So we're looking for the grays.
What I love about you and what just stresses me out to no end.
Here, I'm going to go off camera for a minute here.
What I love about you and what stresses me out to no end is your unlimited capacity for creativity and imagination, and like the sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
And typically in this world, IT, HR, whatever you want to call it, it's not that way. And so people think, okay, I'm going to go work for an IT company. I'm going to go work for an HR company. It's going to be this way, this way, and this way. And then they come in here and we've got all these crazy ideas and we're always trying new things. And they're just like, well, what the heck is happening right now?
That's right.
And people can't handle that.
Used to work for a company called Nelnet. That's all. That could be like a 3-year episode of that life. But I sat down with the CEO of the company back in 2000 and
long time ago.
Yeah, maybe 9. I don't know. I was a young boy, but I sat down with him, and he said the exact same. It just brought back flashbacks. It's like crazy, but he said the exact same thing. He's like, you're dynamic and you're always going. You can do everything, but he said the one thing to me. It's stuck in my head, and it's still there today. He said, "You're driving the biggest speedboat possible, like." The big, like the Baywatch boat, the big yellow one, with David Hasselhoff sitting there doing his thing, with that bald guy driving it or whatever his name was. And you're slamming on the gas and you got 100 skiers behind you. And after about 10, 15 minutes, you look back and you got 2 of them that are just hanging on for freaking dear life and nobody else is there. But the reality is that's why you're here. And that's the why that you're in that role, is because you can help keep the gas off, you can help put it on, you can help adjust it, maybe turn the throttle a little bit, because I'm just sitting there trying to push it down and just run and never stop.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So I still think that, we also have this innate ability to like use ourselves.
This is the best country time lemonade I've ever had in my life.
we tend to use ourselves as our own little experiment. So we work with how many different clients, and we're always trying new things with our clients to figure out what's going to meet their needs. And we end up trying those things on ourselves, like whether it's a new application or a new platform, or how does this software work, or, you know, what about this concept regarding management, or how does this performance module work? And it's like, we're always trying these things within our company to see how they play out in
We
reality.
vet them. I mean, every company vets their stuff. I mean, we all vet our products. I mean, there's nothing that we do for clients that we haven't done for ourselves at all. I mean, we're not going to say, yeah, that'll work, and we go put it in there. I mean, you have to be.
No, it's usually, yeah, we tried that, it didn't work. Yeah, we tried that.
But then they don't believe us.
That's not the greatest plan.
That's not the greatest plan.
Yeah.
No, you can actually see it before they're even talking. We should do this and blah blah. No,
Yeah.
that's not going to work. Not in this case.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's interesting. Our daily lives are.
Yeah, all I can say is that there's a million dynamics into hiring people.
Oh, yes.
It's impossible to get the right person. Someone made a joke once at a company I used to work with years ago that they said it was harder to get into Harvard. It was easier to get into Harvard, than it was to get hired at this company. And I thought, what a joke. This company's a joke. The reality is, company may or may not have been a joke, but that statement it hits home as you grow and as you mature. That company hits home, and you got to protect your organization. You got to really hunker down and make sure that you're making those right decisions. And it doesn't come down to science. It doesn't come down to bubbles on bubble sheets. It literally comes down into, and always will, I think, for the organizations, for the leaders, that gut feeling. I mean, does it feel right? And if there's that sliver that it doesn't feel right, take that and just run with it and don't do it.
Just don't forget about your HR best practices and policies as well. I got to put my plug in there. Goes against everything you're saying. I know that.
What's an example? Let's open this thing back up. What's an example of HR best practices and best policies and the boring?
I don't want to go through the boring stuff. We don't need to do that.
Sleeping.
Yeah.
Tell me a reason. Let's open. You open this thing up, best practices, policies, procedures, and say, well, we would love to hire you. You're the best person ever. You fit the gut check. We want to go out and have a beer with you. You're the great guy, the great gal. But due to best practices and policies and procedures, we really can't hire. I mean, I get background checks.
No, I'm not just talking about background checks. I'm talking about the whole process of hiring and going through the interview process and asking candidates similar questions and not asking questions that should not be asked.
You know my best HR question ever?
I don't want to know.
I asked this for years. I haven't asked it for here for a while, but the question was, are you easily offended? Is that a legitimate question?
No, probably not, because the typical answer you're going to get.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Thank you, Jonathan. That was your question, and you know who you are, Mr. Jonathan. Been following you on Instagram, by the way. Your workouts, you've been doing pretty damn good. So, so yeah, he asked a question where he said he was a sales guy that kind of worked with us for a long time, and we're interviewing a question with somebody. And he said, "You were dead serious." He goes, "Are you easily offended?"
Was it a position where a lot of offense could be taken?
No, but the culture inside the company, at the time, a bunch of young.
Was it offensive?
It wasn't offensive, but I think some of the jokes and the, that's what she said stuff, and I saw your mom last night and stuff like that. It just flowed like butter, and it was funny. We're all cracking up, laughing, doing our thing, and it was,
lawsuit waiting to happen.
It was a lawsuit waiting to happen, and there were some things that happened during that time that probably it never happened, but it was just like, but you know how it is inside companies. You see it, you experience it. So it's like, you don't want to disrupt that sometimes.
Sometimes you do.
Well, not to say that. Oh. Country Time Lemonade. So.
All right. Well, we can go on and on and on about this all day because
I definitely could.
yeah,
All I know is hire the right people, do the right
easier
thing,
said than done.
follow your gut.
Know yourself, know your culture, know what's gonna work well, know what's gonna not.
What's that song?
I don't know.
Yeah, Eminem, love that guy.
Mm.
So, anyways,
That's
Fort
what I'm hoping.
Lauderdale,
Yeah,
get some
Get
sand in
ready
your
to-
toes.
that's what I'm hoping.
I'm hoping so too.
Yep.
Anyways, thanks for joining, everybody. Sorry for the awkward conversation. I didn't think it was quite fun, actually. But
Went off on several different tangents in a million different directions.
I don't think so. Do you think so?
Yeah, but it's kind of who we are. It's us.
That's kind of who we are.
There's lots of meat there if you can sift through the hell are they talking about?
Got
Did that
stuck
make any
there on a
sense?
comment that you said, but yes, you're right. Absolutely. I agree with 100% what she just said.
Bye.
We'll see you guys later. See you. Bye.